All right, guys, I don't know what happened there. Don't know if anybody notices that we lost the, oh, hang on a second, lost the live broadcast. If anybody's going to join back in. For some reason, it just disconnected on me. So we'll give it a minute here and see if anybody can figure that out and come back in. Didn't give me a chance. Sometimes when it disconnects, it gives me an opportunity to, is this the right one? No, it's probably not the right one. Sorry, guys. Give me just a second here. We'll hopefully get back in. There we go. Again, okay. Don't know what happened there. Sometimes you just have problems with YouTube. I need to probably get a more sophisticated setup. It's not my computer because I live stream off the phone itself. It usually does a pretty good job, but every once in a while we have problems with it. And I'm not using any kind of special equipment, so we just deal with what we can. But usually when that happens and I try to reconnect, it offers me to reconnect to the actual live broadcast. But this time it didn't for some reason. All right, so we're back in here. Where are we at? Oscar says, hey, thanks for answering my earlier question. Would you recommend me doing both quail and rabbit? Well, what I would recommend is pick one, focus on it until you get it going, and then do rabbits. Now, or then do the other, whichever one it is. I'd probably start with quail, honestly. It's a little bit easier. I think the learning curve's a little bit less. Depending on where you're located, we're coming into summertime. I don't like to breed rabbits in the summertime. It gets awful hot. They really kind of struggle in the heat of summer, depending on where you live. So I think it would be a good time to start your quail. You're going to have that down. You're going to have that process going. Figure out if you like doing it or not. And then you can get rabbits as you go into fall. And that's time whenever you start breeding rabbits. So if that makes sense. I would do one or the other. I wouldn't try to do both at the same time. It's just kind of a little bit too, it can be overwhelming. All right. Bluesman says rabbits are more expensive. They can be. For sure they can be. Sayed says, hi, I've had quails for a year now, and they were laying before, but for the past 4 months, they stopped laying until last week. Any advice on this? By the way, they were not molting. Molting, I think is what you're saying. Well, it depends. I mean, how much light are you giving them? If you're not putting external lights on them, and I don't know, again, where you live or what part of the world you're in, what part of the year it is, but mine stop laying whenever the daylight gets a little bit shorter than about 14 hours a day. They stop laying, and then they pick back up whenever spring hits and the days start getting longer again. Then they start laying again. But again, light is the main factor in why they stop laying. They need 14 hours a day of light in order to lay on a regular basis. All right. Oh no, Kelly Penzera says, I wish you would have gotten to my end. You can go back, if you can still get to the chat from the other one, copy it, and then come back in here and paste it in here so you don't have to type it all over again. Sorry about that. I lost the connection and just had to start over. Kinfolk Farm of Georgia says, thumbs up for Chris, everybody. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. All right, Fada Mike says, what is your favorite rabbit recipe? Boy, that's hard. I don't know if I have an absolute favorite. Pot pie is pretty good. They make great fajitas. I did some one time. Smoked rabbit's really good. I did some one time with like Frank's Red Hot, like you would like buffalo wings, but more like a shredded rabbit. Cooked it in the crock pot, shredded it, put some of the Frank's Red Hot on it, and then baked it off and rolled it in some tortillas, like a pinwheel with some blue cheese. That was pretty good. I like it lots of different ways. I don't know if I have an absolute favorite. All right, Walt says, do both. Once you get housing built, the chores are easier for both, and you will have more variety of meat and eggs. Well, that's not a bad suggestion either, Walt. But you may want to start with just one. Make sure you can handle it. Make sure you're not getting in over your head. Then add the other one instead of trying to do both at the exact same time. But that's just my personal opinion. Rhonda says, I have 2 hens and only get 2 eggs about every 3 days. I ended up with 2 roosters. Do you think that might be from overbreeding? Well, It could be if they're stressed out because they're being bred too much, then yeah, they're probably not going to produce eggs on a regular basis. Again, though, the main thing that is the light. They got to have 14 hours a day of light in order to lay on a consistent basis. The other thing about that, though, if there isn't a stress factor, I remember, I think, Rhonda, that you're raising them in your, like, in a spare room or in your bedroom or something like that. So if there's a lot of activity around that could be stressing them out, that could be impacting it as well. All right, Eddie Shira says, Sharon, I'm in Topeka. Hey, that's not too far from me. Well, it's a little ways from me, but it's close enough I know where it is. Says, I have a doe with 8 babies, though, so I don't know if she will be good to feed more. With 8 babies, she should be able to handle a couple of more for sure. All right, Mark says, I wish I could get a refund on the fake doe, but that dude I got it from does not answer my texts or calls. Yeah, of course not. He pulled one over on you. He's not going to answer. Yep, I guess I have an extra purebred New Zealand buck. Hey, you could always sell him. Sell him for what you got in him. Somebody will probably pay for him. Life Not Perfect says you need to get some honeybees, Chris. Well, you know what? Maybe I will someday. I don't know. I've thought about adding honeybees at one time, but just don't have the extra money for it right now to buy hives, and bees are kind of expensive to get into. So, but who knows? Maybe someday I will. Walt says, go get a real doe from somebody else. Yeah, I would definitely go with somebody else for sure. Well, the chat has slowed down all of a sudden. See what's going on this week. Well, I got plants starting, you guys. Well, if you've been watching the videos, you know I started seeds a couple of weeks ago. Tomatoes have all sprouted. The peppers are just now sprouting. It looks like I might have a few banana peppers sprouted now. They need to go under the lights here pretty quick. So summer's coming. It's getting close, and already got. Well, I got to put together some raised beds. I'm going to do some raised beds, probably sub-irrigated raised beds in small boxes. They're not very big, so I might do some videos on that. But those got to be done pretty quick. Those are going to be for like my lettuce and radishes and all that early season stuff and stuff that you just kind of open seed. And I don't want to, because I'm going to cover my whole garden to try to kill off all that Bermuda grass. So that's my plan coming up. I'll probably have some videos about that stuff. Tammy says, hi, Chris. If you have a barn, could you hang the cages the same way you do your rabbits, trying to cut costs on the build? If you're talking about for quail, could you hang the quail cages? Yeah, I don't see why you couldn't. That would work just great, I would think. I would do it if I had a barn to put them in. All right. Rhonda says, I have peppers started. Yep, my peppers are just coming up. Jeremy says, by watching your videos, we got our first two kicks to live. Kits, I think you mean your first 2 kits to live. Well, hey, I'm glad that it worked out. Congratulations on that, and I'm glad that the videos proved helpful. Rhonda says, I started my seeds from peppers I got at Walmart. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, you got them at Walmart, but they're probably Bonnie plants or something like that, so they're a well-known producer. As long as they're heirloom, they'll grow true to the parent. But if they're a hybrid, then you don't know exactly what you're going to get. I mean, it's not necessarily worth not trying. From Jumbo Meat Birds. Are jumbo eggs quail different from jumbo meat birds? Oh, I think you're talking about like the jumbo pharaohs. They're known for having like the largest of the quail eggs versus the jumbo meat makers. There are slight differences. To me, it's not huge difference between those different birds. Hopefully I'm getting that question right, Walt. But to me, it's not a huge difference in those birds. It's a very minimal difference. The jumbo pharaohs do lay a slightly larger egg, but again, it's not tremendously larger. And the meat makers are maybe a slightly larger bird or grow out slightly faster, but to me, it's not tremendously different. So that's just my opinion on it. All right. Oscar says, is $3 per quail chick a good deal? Well, it depends. It depends on the market in your area. For me, $3 per quail chick, if they're about 3 weeks old or older, that's a pretty good deal for the market in this area. But again, it just depends on your area and what the market's like there. All right. Life Not Perfect says, what's your thoughts on raised beds? And I'm showing I'm disconnected again. Somebody leave me a comment. Let me know. Can you hear me okay? I'm not sure if we're still going or if I lost the connection. I'm not getting a response, so. All right. Did we get back in there? I think the problem I'm having tonight, sorry, my hand in the camera here, I'm trying to adjust it so we can see. Let me know if you guys, somebody give me a comment or something. Let me know if we're live again. I'm not seeing a comment on here. There we go. We got one. Okay. Looks like we're going to, okay, I think the problem we're having is my internet connection. I disconnected the phone from the internet, so I'm just going over the cellular signals. Hopefully that fixes it. But that also means that I don't necessarily have, I don't have the chat up on the computer. So I'm just reading the comments as they come by. Oh, wait, maybe I'm back in. I think we're back. I think we're going. I'm going to do my best. So anyway, we had a question on raised beds. Life Not Perfect asked that question. Hopefully you're still in here. All right, as far as the raised beds go, my thoughts on raised beds, they can work really, really well. There's some advantages and some disadvantages to a raised bed for a garden. The advantage is, hey, there we are. You're still here. Good. The advantage, in my opinion, on a raised bed is that it is, well, it's raised up, so it's a little bit easier to get to. It's a little bit easier to keep weed free. You can do, easy modifications to it, like add shade cover, add, greenhouse, like hoop house type stuff to it. And, in the wintertime to extend your season that way. They do warm up a little bit quicker in the spring, so you can get planting in them a little bit sooner. The disadvantages, in my opinion, though, is that they do require a little bit more watering. They tend to dry out a lot faster. In general, I'm not a huge fan of raised bed gardens, but and I know I just listed a whole lot more advantages than I did disadvantages, but in general, I prefer to plant in the ground. I think it just works better, and the biggest reason for that is you don't have to water as much. That's just me personally. But I am going to do that for some of my, like I said, my open seed stuff like lettuce and radishes and maybe onions. I might do onions in there. Carrots for sure, just because it's so hard to grow carrots in the ground here with as much clay and rock we have. But that's how I plan on using my raised beds. So hopefully I kind of answered that question, gave you an idea. Generally speaking, I prefer to grow most things in the ground as opposed to a raised bed. But, nothing wrong with them. All right, are we still going here? Nobody's got much of a comment going on? Hey, we're still going. All right. Says, Chris, I do an automatic watering system for my rabbits and quails because it kind of close together. Something about the same 5-gallon bucket. I can't read these comments when they come up on the phone very fast. So if I miss it, there, hey, I'm back in the chat. I think we're good. All right, I did an automatic watering system for my rabbits and quails because it because they're kind of close together on the same 5-gallon bucket. It worked perfect. I don't see why it wouldn't work perfect. I use the same 5-gallon bucket. So I don't do it with my rabbits and quail because they're quite a ways apart. But for 2 different quail hutches, it works great. No problem, no reason why. And that's another thing I'm looking forward to. With the warmer weather coming, I think I can probably get away with putting out the automatic watering systems this weekend. So I'm very much looking forward to that, getting away from having to carry buckets of water out every day. It's not really buckets, it's like gallons, but still. Jeremy Conkle says, for your carriage, use sand in clay. So, oh, for carrots, I think you said. I think that's what you mean. For carrots, it's a typo. Says, use sand in clay soil. That's a really good suggestion, but that would take a lot of clay. And then it would pretty much be just a carrot bed, dedicated carrots. And I find it easier just to grow them in a raised bed or a container or something like that. But that is a good suggestion. Thank you. All right, what else we got, guys? I need some comments or something because I don't plan anything out for these. It's usually pretty busy. William says, keep my quail indoors and they keep escaping from the box. They are going out this weekend. Yeah, I don't blame you. It's especially if they're escaping from the box on a regular basis. My quail go out just as soon as I can get them out of the brooder box and outside. In the summertime, that's at like 2.5, 3 weeks old. Usually by about 3 weeks old, they're out in the hutches, in the grow out pens. In the wintertime, in the fall, in this early spring when it's still getting pretty chilly at night, I wait till they're about 4, maybe 5 weeks old. All right. Gator Green says, Chris, I really appreciate your channel because I changed my whole eating habits because of you. Well, I'm glad I could be a good influence on you. It's a good thing you don't see my diet on a regular basis. I am not the healthiest eating person. I mean, I do grow my own vegetables. I eat my own, I grow my own meat, and those, I guess, are healthy. But, yeah, I'm a soda pop junkie. I drink so much soda, it's ridiculous. And I am guilty of running to the fast food restaurants every once in a while, too. But, hey, I'm glad I could be an influence on you on the healthy parts anyway. Just don't pay attention to my unhealthy habits. All right. Life Not Perfect says, will you make another video on hatching eggs? I might do another video on hatching eggs. I've shot it before. I've done it a couple of times, so I always figure, well, people have seen it already. Why do it again? But who knows? Maybe I'll do it again. Joseph says, I hatched out my first batch of A&M. Congratulations on your hatch. Very nice. All right, Daniela says, I missed your explanation on big quail hatches and temperature. By the way, sent you a Facebook invitation. Well, thank you. If you, I will tell you guys, if you sent me a Facebook, like on my private Facebook account, don't be offended. I probably won't accept it. I'm just not on there that much, and unless I know the person personally, I tend to just kind of ignore friend requests because I get so many friend requests from these scantily clad women that have, like nothing but guys following them, and they only have 2 pictures on their Facebook profile. You guys know what I'm talking about. That I just don't pay attention to. Not that I'm saying that you're going to come across like that, but I tend to not pay attention to the friend requests. So if you sent me a request on the private, I probably didn't get it. I'm sorry, I didn't pay much attention to it. As far as the explanation on the big hatches and the temperature, though, I'm trying to remember what it was. I think you said if you have a big hatch, it's overwhelming. What do you do with temperature? I think that's whenever everything started breaking down on me. So let's see if I can explain that. I don't do anything special with them. My brooder box, I put the light on one end of it so they can have a gradient of temperature. They can get wherever's comfortable in the brooder box. And just watch your birds. I mean, if they're all starting to crowd up underneath the heat lamp, it's too cold. Move it a little bit closer. Get them to spread out a little bit. Now, if they're all like on the other side of the box and spread out as far as they can over there, it's too warm. You want to move it out a little bit more until they're all just moving around throughout the brooder box fairly freely. You may have to end up with 2 brooder boxes depending on the size of your box. Hopefully that kind of answers that question for you. Joseph says, talking about the A&Ms you hatched, says got 17 out of 50. Well, that's not the best hatch rate ever, but hey, it's still a hatch. Don't be upset about that at all. I would still be happy with that if it was me. So congratulations on your first hatch. It's only going to get better from here. William says, feed runs about $17 a 50-pound bag here. Any idea what to supplement with for my quail? Bread, veggie scraps, etc. I don't know. $17 for a 50-pound bag is not terrible. I get a little bit better deal of that than that. But as far as what to supplement with, I mean, you can supplement with lots of things. I don't know that I can answer that right off the top of my head because what you're going to end up with is, what you're going to end up with is you're going to end up throwing off the ratios of, calcium and protein and all those other things if you start mixing things in with your quail food. And, I mean, you can add in, cat food for higher protein. You can add in, there's some seeds, some grains, and some of those kinds of things. I can't really give you the best answer on that, how to mix your own feed, but that's basically what you'd want to do, is look at mixing your own feed. My best suggestion is see if you can find a feed store or a feed mill in your area and see if you can get a better deal on the quail food. That would be my best guess. All right. Eddie Shira says, I have heard you speak about the solar light bundle deal. Can you explain what that is and how I can get in? Thank you. Well, yes, I'm working on a light. I worked with a manufacturer to develop a light. It's a solar light with a timer, an automatic timer. So you can set the time, come on, go off whenever you want. You don't have to run out and turn it on. You don't have to run extension cords. It's all solar powered. And it's done a great job for me. I've tested it out all winter long. Kept the birds laying pretty much all winter long. I did keep them laying all winter long. It's plenty bright enough for that. It comes on every morning at 2:30 in the morning, goes off at 7:30. So I run it for 5 hours a day. And even in the shortest days of winter, when there was cloud cover, it's still charged up enough to run 5 hours a day. So it's worked out very, very well for me. The problem is I've got to go to Kickstarter to earn the money to order the batch order. So it's going to be going out live pretty quick. If you want to get in on the pre-launch of that, so you know exactly when it goes live, get in on, because there will be a limited number of, early bird specials where you can get it a little bit cheaper than everybody else is going to. Then you can go to slightlyredneck.com/solarlight, and that will take you to the page where you can sign up. Give me your email address. I promise not to spam you. And I will shoot out an email when it gets ready to go live, and then you'll know when it's going live. So hopefully that kind of explains it. If you look back through my channel, I did a video on it a little while back, and you can kind of see a little bit more about it. I think it was called The Best Light for Your Quail, the Best Quail Light. I can't remember exactly what I titled it, but it wasn't that long ago, just a couple of weeks, so you should be able to find it pretty quickly and pretty easily. All right, Gator Green says, when you process your next batch of quails, will you do video on that so I know what to do? Well, you know what, Gator Green? I might be able to do some video on that, but what I've run into in the past is at least the actual act of dispatching the animal gets very bad reactions on YouTube, and I end up getting like I get marked as inappropriate content. So you end up having to be signed in, 18 years old, and it just looks bad. It comes across as like adult content on the channel. I might be able to get away with dispatching the birds off camera and then bringing them in to do the processing. I have done video on that before, but again, it got marked as adult content. So if you're signed in and over 18 years old, you can go back and watch that. All right. William says, with a big hatch, I saw the ones that already hatch bulldoze the hatching eggs in the incubator. Any ideas to cut that down? Well, in the incubator, huh? A couple of things you can do to kind of keep them calm in the incubator is cover the glass. Well, it's not glass, it's plastic, but cover the windows with like a couple of pieces of paper, dark paper, cardboard, something like that, to block the light out. If it's dark in there, they'll stay a lot calmer. Don't try not to mess with the incubator too much. When you mess with it, that gets them all wound up and they start running around like crazy. Those are a couple of things that you can do, but other than that, I don't know that there's much else you can do. Usually they're not too bad. They won't hurt the other birds necessarily, but yeah, make sure if you cover the windows, you don't cover the vent holes. The vent holes need to be uncovered. All right. Rhonda says, I haven't really been able to use my heat lamp, but my quail are inside. The water was getting too hot to drink. Well, put the water on the other side of the brooder box, so it's not, the heat lamp's not shining directly on it, would be my suggestion on that. Maybe you're doing that already. Maybe I'm misunderstanding. I'm not sure. All right. Ron Strobel says, have you tried to get in touch with some YouTube preppers or off-grid channels to spread the word about your light? Kier. Well, actually, I have not, because I don't have an existing relationship with those people. I don't want to just go out to some YouTube personality or prepper or something like that and be like, hey, you may never have heard of me, but hey, I'm launching this light. Go share my light. Go share it with your audience. I want to make sure I have an existing relationship with those people before I ask them to do that. And I don't have an existing relationship with those people. Not only that, but it's just, I don't want to put people in an awkward situation where I'm asking them to share things for me and, they don't necessarily know. Who knows? We'll see. Maybe I will reach out to a few. We'll see. All right. RSL 82568 says, what are your thoughts about breeding in a male American chinchilla buck and a broken black and white New Zealand doe for better weight at 8 weeks for kits? I'm not sure if that'll provide you with better weight or not, but I don't see any problem with it. I don't think it will provide you with anything worse. I had a American chinchilla crossbreed one time that did great. It was a great meat rabbit. The babies grew out very fast. They were incredibly cute. It was very hard to dispatch those when it came time, but they were good meat rabbits, good and meaty, and everything went great with them. Kenneth says, does raising quail make dust? Yeah, there is some dust associated with it. You're going to see feathers and dust and some of that kind of stuff. I don't think it's terrible. But yeah, if you have it in the house, it's going to be noticeable for sure. All right, guys, I got to get this wrapped up pretty quick. I know we had two problems with the with the videos tonight. Thank you guys for your patience and for coming back in and joining me again. Let me scan through the comments, see if there's anything in here that I need to get answered before I go. Oh, Gator Green says, what I meant about processing them is how you bag them up and everything. Yeah, if you've seen my video on how I do rabbits, quail's pretty much the same way. Let them rest in the fridge for 24 to 48 hours. Usually they don't take nearly as long as rabbits, so I give them 24 to 48 hours, throw them in. I usually bundle them about 4 in a bag because that's about how much my wife and I eat for dinner when we eat them. And I just vacuum seal them and put them in the freezer. That's how I do it. But yeah, I'll see if I can address that in a video maybe. All right, Bridger says, I said in an earlier live stream that my rabbit weren't breeding, and I took your advice and put my doe in a box and drove her around the block 3 times, and it worked. I'm expecting babies in April. I don't know why that works, but I've heard so many positive results from it that I just bring it up and give recommendations. I'm glad it worked out. Congratulations. Well, Ron, yeah, you can definitely let them know, and I will ask for your guys' help when the Kickstarter goes live. Share away, share in all your Facebook groups, sharing, wherever you want to share it. I'm happy to have you guys share it, and thank you so much for doing that. I appreciate it. All right, guys, I got to wrap this up, get out of here. Don't have any more time. Got to go spend some time with the family. Tomorrow's Friday. Got to go to work one more day, and then I got the weekend coming up. So thank you guys again for your patience, for joining me again whenever we had some problems. Had a lot of problems the last couple of weeks, and thank you for working through that with me. God bless each and every one of you.